All right, welcome into another Duly Noted podcast sponsored by, of course, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI. Appreciate Joe Calorio over Titan MRI. We got our logos straightened out for the golf tournament that'll be coming up in May, but more on that later. And all of you watching us on Facebook or YouTube, and of course you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts. We got that little problem figured out. Spotify, iHeartRadio, WRUF.com, all those as well. Any of the 39 platforms where you can find this podcast, your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. I was going to open up today, and we've got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to talk to Chris Dortch in just a little bit from Blue Ribbon Yearbook, and Jerry Palm from CBS Sports, who's their bracketologist, and then Jeff Cardozo is going to come in and sit in. We'll talk a little Gator baseball with him. But before we get to that, I always like to open it up a little monologue, and I was going to talk about the weekend that Gator Sports had. It was a really good one. If you didn't watch, I tried to make you guys watch gymnastics Friday night. It was unbelievable, especially the way it ended. And there was all the kinds of stuff going on. But right before I left to come in here, Gus Malzahn is the new head coach at UCF. And I'm like, okay, that makes some sense. And I know the Gator fans are sitting there going, does this have any real effect on us? And my feeling is not really, because, you know, when you look at Frost and Heupel and all the guys that have been there, they have not really been recruiting against Florida or even Florida State. A little bit against Florida State and Miami, but certainly not against Florida, not against Miami the way they've been recruiting. They don't, you know, I remember when, I'll never forget this, when Lane Kiffin went to FAU, Butch Davis to FIU, you had the success that UCF was having, and obviously they were Miami and FSU were hoping to get back, and Charlie Strong was at South Florida, and everybody kept calling me saying, "Man, is this going to screw up Florida's recruiting?" I'm like, "They don't recruit against these teams. I don't know what you're talking about." So it was not a big deal. But it is interesting, and it's going to be interesting to watch the Gus bus and how he does there, because it is kind of a strange deal for him to it's not strange that he took the job. What's funny and where you're going to get a lot of feedback is that a lot of people felt like he would have been perfect for Tennessee. Instead, they hire Heupel because the AD, Danny White, is obviously up there, and then Gus goes there to UCF. It's kind of a weird deal there. So we'll see where that goes and it's kind of late in the process for him to hire a great recruiting staff, but we'll see how that goes. So we'll get to all the other stuff that did happen over the weekend. Just quickly, if you didn't watch the gymnastics, you missed it. It was unbelievable. Give a lot of credit to the golf team for shooting 15 under in the final round to come back and win. Softball wins their 2 opening games. Lacrosse wins its opener. All that was going on. Of course, this week it's just going to get crazy with baseball starting. Big series against Miami this weekend. And it seems that Florida basketball is now going to join the living again, which is kind of weird how long they've been out. We are going to bring in Chris Dortch from Blue Ribbon Yearbook. And, of course, Blue Ribbon Report does a great job covering college basketball. The Blue Ribbon Yearbook is the Bible of college basketball, and it's great to be joined by Chris again. How you been, buddy?
I'm well, Pat. How about you?
Hanging in there, like everybody. I got both of my vaccine shots, so I'm feeling good.
Yeah, everybody thinks my Zoom background is fake, but those books behind me are actually, I have read most of those. So
that's unbelievable. You've written some of them too, because I know you've written a lot of books.
Written a few and then edited. I think it's now 22 or 23 Blue Ribbon basketball yearbooks and 11 football yearbooks before we put that one to rest.
Well, what's it been like for you? Obviously, you and I aren't going to a bunch of games like we used to, but you're still watching. You got an opportunity to watch all these games, but then you start to get a feel for this season, and then Baylor opts out. We know where Florida's missed 3 straight games. We don't know if they're going to play Tuesday, but it looks like they are. Michigan comes back from being off and looks great in a comeback, or they won late, but that was a great win for them. it's just kind of hard to figure out, other than Baylor and Gonzaga, who the great teams are.
Yeah, it's been weird. I mean, I was trying to think, and if I don't get to go to a game this year, and I haven't been to one in person yet, it'll be the first time since 1974 that I haven't been to a college basketball game. So that's a streak I don't want to see in, but I just checked on vaccine availability in my neck of the woods in Tennessee, and I'm not in queue for a quick one. So I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it to get out there, but it's been a crazy year, no question. Teams get momentum and then they get virus protocol, and Florida has had to undergo things that with Keontae Johnson, I mean, nobody wants to go through, and thank God he's okay, and that apparently his issue wasn't related to the virus, and I was really glad to know that. But it's been weird. You look at some of these teams, like I don't know how Belmont has played. Belmont's 21-1, I think. How have they played 22 games?
And they're in a place where you've got bachelorette parties running all over the place.
I mean, it's crazy because they're playing them in Major League, which not theoretically, I know that they cannot afford the testing that goes on at the SEC level. I know this for a fact. Yet somehow the OVC has hung in there, and I haven't kept up with the entire league and whether any games have been canceled, but Belmont's got 22 games under their belt, which isn't far off from where they'd be normally. And then you've got teams like Florida, Michigan, South Carolina has been plagued by this thing. So it's really kind of been luck of the draw, I guess. I know every school, at least in the power conferences, is testing regularly, and you have to test officials. A buddy of mine that works at the Southern Conference said that just to test officials was going to cost them just six figures, just a ton of money, to get that done. So, yeah, this is nothing I ever want to go through again or see again. I was just watching a documentary today. I worry. If there's one thing that worries me and keeps me up at night, it's when's the next pandemic coming and from where? I'm convinced that that is one of the great existential threats to our time, and this whole business. I mean, it's been a year now, has kind of proven that if one of these things gets unleashed, it's hell to pay for everybody, but especially in sports where obviously you have to congregate and you have to practice, and it's just been a crazy year. But I will say this: I'm glad that the kids been able to play. I know that in talking to a bunch of coaches, players, it was their strong desire to play, and they figured out a way, just like every other sport has. So I think that our country, I think we need that. I think we need that escapism. We published Blue Ribbon, and we really weren't going to, but in August I made the decision to go, and I'm glad I did. We picked up some new customers because a couple of my competitors didn't publish, and so many nice emails and calls saying thank you for publishing and give us some sense of normalcy to an otherwise crazy year.
This weekend I did watch a lot of basketball. I do every weekend. I mean, I'm a big basketball guy, but I really wanted to watch certain teams and kind of watch them in a different way, and that is, how do I think they'll do in the tournament? And one of them was obviously Gonzaga, and I don't know, San Francisco may just stink on ice, but that was an impressive performance. The other one was Ohio State, which I've been impressed with just casually, and I kind of paid attention to them. They were really good. And I'll tell you what, Loyola of Chicago may be back for another run. I like that team a lot.
Yeah, Loyola Chicago has snuck back up in both rankings. They're 22 in the AP poll and 23 in the coaches poll. They're 18-4. Again, another one of those teams that has gotten a lot of games in. And I think what we've seen, Pat, is that, and everybody talks about the blue bloods that aren't in the rankings now, Duke and Kansas and Kentucky and Carolina. And I think any team that is overly reliant on newcomers or freshmen has struggled. And I don't think there's, I don't think that's any coincidence why they have. And then you look at the teams that are up there and, Gonzaga, Baylor obviously have been 1-2 for a long time. And, Villanova's a veteran team. Virginia's a veteran team. Houston's a veteran team. And like you, I've kind of kept my eye on Ohio State. Chris Holtmann is a great coach. He's been a great coach everywhere he's been, but Ohio State suffered severe personnel losses, and yet they've been able to come back, and they got a couple of grad transfers, and they've really got good guards. And I think if you've got good guards and experienced guards, you've got a chance in however the tournament shapes up.
Let me ask you this, because we talked about it a little bit last week. Do you think we in the media are the only ones bringing up the possibility of teams opting out of conference tournaments or conferences opting out? Or do you think that's something that they're discussing or within the conference or within the athletic departments?
I do think it's being discussed, Pat. I think that, it's going to be hard enough for the selection committee, but I think that if you, for one season at least, if you have to go with the winner of, let's say if you're Belmont, a mid-major team, and you clearly win your league, and pretty much Belmont has dominated the Ohio Valley.
Right.
I could see where, because of all the money that it would cost to ensure safety for several teams and officials, I could see where leagues would opt out of their tournament and just present their regular season champion. And I don't know that you'd get a whole lot of complaint from other members of that league simply because of the cost. I mean, it has really become prohibitive for smaller conferences. Now, it might be different with the power conferences, and they've got more money and they've got rainy day funds. And you've been down to the spring meetings in the SEC probably many times, and you know how much they shell out every spring. That's going to be greatly diminished, but they've still got, and the league has got a war chest of cash. You can't tell me they don't. And so it wouldn't be surprising at all if maybe the Power Five had tournaments and the rest just said, you know what, we're going to go with our regular season champion. Or if you've got a league like, say, maybe the Missouri Valley that has Loyola Chicago and Drake in it, and you're afraid that one of those, whoever doesn't win it, gets left out, maybe you try to have a tournament. But I think this is a year where the selection committee is really going to earn its keep, and they're going to really have to use common sense judgment. And I think they cannot ignore conferences like the Missouri Valley, which again, right at this moment has two deserving teams that could get in. So it's going to be a mess, but I do think some leagues will opt out of their league tournament. I'd be willing to bet anything on that.
Yeah, we know the SEC won't, because they pretty much say, we're having our tournament, we need the money, we need to, more than anything, it's inventory for ESPN and CBS
Right.
and whoever, that they
Right.
really need that.
Yeah, one of the weirdest things that I've encountered is, like, you'll be expecting a game and you'll go, and your cable grid, the programming grid has, whatever game it is you want, and then you click on there and it's some old documentary or something, and you say, oh, COVID protocol. That's just standard right now. It's a shame, but like I said, the fact that a lot of these schools have squeezed in as many games as they have is pretty amazing to me. Gonzaga's had some issues, notably Tennessee had to cancel on them. I think they were supposed to play Baylor, but Gonzaga keeps trucking along, and this could be the year where maybe we see an undefeated national champion.
You could, and again, Baylor's now in the pause, but I watched them play several games, and they're really good. I don't think there's much doubt about that. Let me ask you this about the net rankings, because I look at them every day, because I'm curious about Florida and where they are, and they keep going up and down without playing games. When they went from 31 to 25, now they're back to 28. But then I see a team like Colgate, which has played 10 games against nobody significant, and they're in the top 15. And, Missouri doesn't get much love with it. Sometimes it's hard to figure out. How much do you think the committee will pay attention to the net rankings, which is supposed to be their new RPI this year, with that COVID seems to have knocked everything out of whack?
Yeah, no question about that. I think one thing that you have to remember about the net, and just like they used to caution with the RPI, is that it's a metric, not a sole metric. So, the net has weaved in a few more variables about, where you win and who you beat, when you beat them. Are they full staffed? So that's another thing. The committee will really have to keep up with was a team playing without certain players because of COVID restrictions. That's going to be maddening because just like injuries played a part in selection in years past, I think COVID protocol and being out with the virus will have to play a part too. So I would not want to be in the shoes of the selection committee. I think it's going to be the hardest job a committee has ever had, but certainly the net is one way. If you look, I'm looking at two teams in particular, Iowa and Tennessee, both expected by me and others to be maybe a little better than they are. Not that they haven't been good, but Iowa with 6 losses and Tennessee with 5, probably a little more than people expected at this point. Yet Iowa's number 8 in the net and Tennessee's number 12, and it all has to do with, I don't know every component to the net, but it all has to do with that formula. But again, I don't think it'll be the only formula that the NCAA will use. The eye test, some people are critical of that. Some people are critical of that phrase, but that's going to lead the way. A dear old friend of mine and mentor, Les Robinson, who was the coach at Citadel, ETSU, and NC State, and he was on the selection committee, and he told me that when he was on it, when it came down to nutcracking time, the question that was asked was, if you were a coach, if there was a couple of teams that were in consideration, if you were a coach, which team would you least rather play? And I think you're going to see a lot of that this year. I think you're going to see a lot of just stacking up head to head. And if you were a coach, who would you least like to play? And, there's going to be some complaints and grousing and nitpicking, but you know what? I just hope we get a tournament in, and I think the NCAA's got a pretty good plan for that.
Chris, it's always great talking to you. I want you to go ahead and plug all the stuff you're doing right now.
Absolutely. BlueRibbonYearbook.com. We've got a President's Day sale on. We've just got a few copies left. Like I said, I almost didn't publish. Glad I did. And we've sold a bunch. And if you want to get the 40th anniversary issue, it's collectible. You can go to BlueRibbonYearbook.com. It's 20% off for the next 3 days. So check it out. And we also have, like Pat said, we've got a newsletter and a podcast now. It's
Right.
Blue Ribbon Report, and you can find that on blueribbon.substack, stack.com.
Well, I would be happy to come on your podcast, but I don't know what I'd talk about with the Gators. I mean, I haven't seen them play so.
It's been an up and down year, but like I said, I'm so happy for Keontae Johnson and his family and his teammates, and really was really excited when I saw that his family had reported that apparently what had happened to him was not related to the virus, because if that was true, then I think a lot of young people's lives could be in jeopardy, and I don't think we want to play games as much as we missed them. We don't want to play games and put people's lives in danger.
All right, Chris, thanks so much for coming on. Well, it's always great talking to you, buddy. And we'll see you down the road. Hopefully one day we'll see you again.
Okay. Hope so.
Yep. Thanks, Chris. All right, we appreciate Chris for being on the show. Jerry Palm should be coming up just shortly from CBS. We'll talk to him also about the committee and the tough job that they have, and also where he has teams that he has going in the, where he has them in the bracketology that he does for CBS Sports. Always enjoyed that. I did mention all the craziness that's about to happen here, and it is about to happen, where we're going to have softball, baseball, gymnastics Friday, obviously baseball, and it's a kind of a baseball gymnastics doubleheader. And I don't know how many of you watched the gymnastics meet, but it was pretty intense. And if you didn't see it, the last tumble of the night was a freshman named Ashley Bryant, and who's really good. That's why she's going last for them. And she stumbled just a tiny bit, got up in the air, landed on her butt, and that cost them the meet. But it wasn't like Florida didn't do great things. They had 190. They went over 198, just like LSU was able to do. It was pretty interesting. I thought it was anyway. And so we'll continue to talk about that again. Jeff Cardozo is going to join us in the second half hour to talk some Gator baseball. And right now we're going to go talk to the great Jerry Palm from CBS Sports. .com, the bracketologist over there, and he does a great job doing that stuff. I look at it I don't want to say I look at it every day, because sometimes you kind of get things in your head and did I look at this yesterday? I don't know. Jerry, how are you today?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. Have you been able to go to any games this year?
I went to one. I went to see Drake at Valparaiso. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before. I went to the Saturday game, the one that Drake came back and won. They actually lost to Valparaiso on Sunday. That's the only game I've been to this year so far. I'm hoping I can get to maybe Mackey Arena and see Purdue. That's my school. But it's been hard to just find a way to get out. I can get credentialed so I can go to a game, but it's been hard to just get out this year.
Yeah, and that is so weird. Not weird. I mean, we're seeing it in a lot of places, where Drake and Valpo play back-to-back games. And the teams are playing these back-to-back games. It makes sense. But from a coaching perspective, it really is weird, because you're not doing another scouting report. You just saw the team. You got to do things a little differently if you lost, and maybe the same if you won.
Well, plus, if you have guys who tend to log a lot of minutes, they're doing it on back-to-back days. So, it's going to test your bench a little bit, especially that second game, I think, because, you can only do so much. You still want to win, but your best players, the guys that play a lot of minutes, are really playing a lot of minutes all in one weekend, and then they get 1 day off. The NCAA mandated 1 day off, but then you're right back at practice. But back-to-back games at this level, I think, is a difficult thing to do.
What with your latest bracketology, I looked at it today, and I saw you had Florida 6, which I think is about what everybody is looking at. And again, they need to play games to find out really where they're going to end up. And it looks like tomorrow night's game at Arkansas will be played. Although
good. That's a big game.
It may change.
Yeah, right.
Because of what we've been dealing with. But When you look at this, is it going to be clear for top seed, the top 4 seeds, now that Michigan is back playing?
Oh, I don't know how clear it'll be. It's more clear than it typically is now because of the dominance of Gonzaga and Baylor. So we've got two that, barring some kind of collapse, that would really be especially unexpected from Gonzaga. Baylor's going to come off a pause in a week or so and go into Big 12 teams, and the Big 12 is loaded. So they could scuffle a little bit. But those two have been so good all year long. They look like sure number ones. Michigan came on strong in the second half at Wisconsin and won that game, and they've been the best team in the Big 10 all year. So those three look pretty good. That fourth one could be up for grabs. The committee liked Ohio State and Illinois 4-5. They had Villanova 6, but they lost to Creighton on Saturday, or was it Sunday, after that was announced. Alabama looks very strong, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Alabama ends up with that 4th spot.
It's funny when Alabama lost to Oklahoma and then they lost to Missouri, and you feel like, the race is closening up and Alabama may be playing it way down, and it's almost like they went, all right, that was our little break. Now we're going to come out and we're just going to punch people in the mouth.
Well, and Oklahoma and Missouri are also pretty good teams. And you go on the road and you lose those 2 games. And, Missouri, that was the day that I went to the Valpo game. So I'm listening to the Missouri-Alabama game on the radio, and Missouri's up 19. And by the time I get in my seat, it's like 5. So that was a remarkable comeback by Alabama that came up just short. But the Oklahoma game was a really good game as well. So those aren't the kinds of games that really hurt Alabama much, in terms of trying to build a case for a number 1 seed. You can't lose to every good team you play, but Alabama has done a lot of good this year, and I think they can make a charge. But the margin for error would be smaller for them because the SEC isn't as deep with talented teams as some of these other leagues are.
It feels like in this COVID year, and to me the year started in March when I was at the SEC tournament for
Same.
1 game, and won't be over until at least after March. But it's just been so strange to deal with what we're dealing with in terms of all the teams. It feels like every sport, the best team is winning. Any team with Brady's the best team. We know that. The Lakers, the Dodgers, Alabama, football. And it feels like, is that going to take anything away from the tournament? Or is the tournament such a different animal, it's not going to matter? We're still going to see crazy, wild, fun upsets.
Yeah, we'll still see some upsets. It just may not be Gonzaga and Baylor. Yeah. I personally, I'm not really a chalk guy when it comes to the tournament. I like to see the upsets and stuff, but I really hope we get the Gonzaga-Baylor game that we did not get in December here in April, because those have been the 2 best teams clearly all season long, and it would be a shame if they didn't actually get to settle it on the court against each other.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I watch a lot of SEC basketball because I kind of know the players and everything. And I have not been overly impressed. I've liked Alabama a lot, but I haven't been overly impressed with the conference this year, and I don't see anybody making a deep run other than Alabama. Is that the way you look at it?
I think Tennessee is capable, but they haven't put it all together yet for whatever reason. I think that Tennessee is the next most talented team. I think Missouri's having a terrific season. They lost that game to Arkansas. Tillman didn't play, but Cardozo's done a great job with this Missouri team, because I don't really think that much was expected of the Tigers this year. And Florida losing Keontae Johnson as a player, I think really hurts their chances. LSU and Arkansas have been kind of hit and miss. LSU's been more inconsistent. Arkansas has been very consistent. They beat the teams they're supposed to and lose to the teams they shouldn't. That Missouri win was a real breakthrough for them.
I tell you, the other thing is, if you've got a young team, you think you're struggling. I mean, that's the Blue Bloods right now are certainly struggling. Kentucky got to its 6th win finally, which is hard to believe.
Yeah, 13 losses is 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons worth for Kentucky, full seasons. Duke and Kentucky are both very young teams, but there are other young teams that are doing well. without the talent that Duke and Kentucky have. But it's hard when you're really young and depending a lot on freshmen because you didn't get the preseason workouts and the sort of indoctrination in what you do on the court, offensively and defensively. That those teams didn't get that this year. They have enough talent to make up for it, and they should have caught up by now. And yet, for whatever reason, it's just not clicking. I think once your confidence gets hurt, it's kind of hard to get that back unless you just suddenly get hot. Neither one of these teams has been able to do that.
Last thing for you, and we appreciate your time, Jerry. Your thought on whether we're going to see teams or conferences opt out, and if we do, more than likely it will be non-Power 5 conferences, I would think.
You mean opt out of the entire season?
No, opt out of their conference tournament. Sorry about that.
Oh, actually, I don't think you're going to see that. Well, the thing is with the smaller conferences, that championship game is a money thing for them on television. Yeah. So, they're going to want that if they can do it at all. So I think you're going to see conference tournaments largely get played. I don't know, maybe one or two will have to be canceled for circumstances beyond their control. But I think if they can play them, I think all of these conferences want to play their tournaments.
Jerry, it's great talking to you, man. We always look forward to your stuff at CBSSports.com. And thanks again for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me on. Nice talking to you.
All right, Jerry Palm, CBSSports.com. We appreciate him. We've been going rapid fire. We got to get a break now. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Hopefully Jeff Cardozo will be here. It's going to be hard to look at. I know that. We'll have two redheads in the room. That may be too much. And then we also have to get to the Leonardo's quick picks. We still need to get to the three things. And the Adams Rib Company Gator of the Weekend. And this one was a good one. And I got a new segment that we're going to start in March, and I want to see if we can get somebody interested in being a sponsor for it, because I think it's going to be kind of a cool segment. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come right back with more of Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate. Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com. This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org. All right, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. We'll be joined in just a second by this guy on the right, my buddy from the radio, Jeff Cardozo. We'll talk a little Gator baseball. First, though, I want to get to the Leonardo's Millhopper quick picks. And we had two people who qualified this week, Drew Berry and Michael Tudine. Very well done, guys. So you'll go in the hopper on Friday. we're going to pull out a name, and that's going to be the winner of this segment of the Leonardo's Quick Picks, and then we'll start a brand new one again. But I'll tell you, we're going to give anybody who watches the show a chance to get to qualify. Pick the winner of the Florida Arkansas game tomorrow. That's all you got to do. If you get it right, we'll put you in the hopper. We got a couple guys that are in there twice. So see how that goes. All right, and we'll get to three things in Adams Rib Company Gator of the Weekend. You might be able to guess it. But right now we're going to talk a little Gator baseball with Jeff Cardozo, the play-by-play man of Florida baseball. How are you?
Good.
Well, you just had a nice weekend off.
Yeah, nice weekend
That's
off.
it.
Just the
done.
calm before the storm. Now 56 games and hopefully many more all the way to Omaha will make it more than 70. But it'd be good. It'd be good to get it in, especially after what happened last year.
Yeah, what's the most games they ever played?
Mid-70s.
Yeah, somewhere in that area. Yeah. Well, obviously, and again, Friday, it looks like there could be a little rain, but I don't think it'll happen till later, so it'll be all right. Sunday, it looks like it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
That's my day to come out.
Okay.
I can wrap up
You can
the
get
whole
a ticket?
series.
You're like, that special?
Yeah.
It's a hard ticket.
I know. It is a hard ticket, and it's a hard press credential to get, I found out today, too.
But I did find out that Jeffrey Meldon's giving away tickets.
Is he?
Yeah, so you can go to Meldon and Friends Facebook page. You get 4 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, plus Cheesecake Factory gift certificates. So if you can't get in, do that. That's the best way to go.
Let me write this down here.
Heck yeah.
Of course, Jeffrey Melton's always in here doing his podcast
Very
as
true.
well.
That's right.
Yeah. We appreciate
It's
him.
good digs. You guys do well in here.
All right, so let's talk about this team, which the expectations are through the roof. I don't know that they've ever been any higher.
I agree.
Can you think of a team where they were higher, like maybe Zanino's junior year?
Yeah, that 2012 team
Yeah.
probably got hyped up this much. But I think when you look at the overall depth, this team has more depth than that team. Because there were a few holes, and obviously they didn't have the depth on the mound, and that was evident once they got to Omaha. So it's really, really hard to find an out when you sit there and you go through the lineup 1 through 9, and then there's 3 or 4 freshmen that are beating down the door to get Kalilau out of there or Acton out of there. I mean, there's a few guys that want to play right away as freshmen. So it's going to be a special group if they can do what they're supposed to do. But then again,
You're not going 56 and
yes,
up.
you're not. You're going to lose some games, and obviously the COVID issue, you never know what's going to happen with that.
Sure.
Guys out of the lineup, guys in the lineup, not being able to practice. So I think these first 3 or 4 weeks until conference play starts, Sully's probably going to do what he did last year. And we saw, 16 games? We saw 16 different lineups. He was trying to shuffle guys in and out, trying to find the best fit, where to go, and then by the time conference play rolls around, it's going to be legit.
It was 17 games, wasn't it? You're not counting the FSU game?
No, we can't. So I threw that one out of there.
We talked about this on the radio, how Florida, every season's ending abruptly with a terrible, awful game.
Yeah.
It happened in football. It happened in basketball. The last game they played with South Carolina.
Yeah.
And then the game before that where they paused was obviously the FSU game. And then the year before that was Kentucky when they ended it. But I was going to ask you where the hole is in this lineup. And I always know that a hole will pop up.
Sure.
Because it's like not everybody's going to hit the average that Sully right now thinks that guy's going to hit.
Right.
Somebody's going to go into a slump. Somebody's going to have junioritis or something like that. So I don't know, though, where it would be an obvious place where you go, that's one of the things where guys are going to be fighting for a job.
I think that's where you look at it, and really the name, and that's why I said Kalilau and Acton, like the 2 veterans that have been a part of this group for a while. You know, I think we saw some struggles with Corey Acton last year. We saw some with Kalilau and not being able to play all the time and just trying to find the right position for him, because now you've got Chris Armstrong, who's been, I mean, he put a dent in the scoreboard already and broke the new scoreboard because that's how far he's hitting the ball. And then you've got a couple of freshmen that are just dying to get into that lineup. So I think if any of those guys struggle, those are probably the prime candidates to then be out of the lineup. I mean, you have to love Jacob Young in left field. I mean, that guy's hustles all the time. He's hit a solid 400. I think he's going to come in with a 18 or 19 game hitting streak from the end of last year. And then, I mean, you got maybe the number 1 pick in the draft in Fabian.
Center fielder's not coming out.
He's not coming out. So, I mean, Nick Kirby, if he struggles at third, trying to find that, you've got a young guy in Colby Halter that is really pushing the limits there. Josh Rivera, the shortstop last year, was a freshman who was picked to be a second team All-SEC, which is nuts. Yeah. And we've only seen him in a small sample size. So
it is kind of crazy. You know what else is crazy? is how only Mace made second team, and nobody else was picked on the coach's team. And it seemed like everybody on the team, other than Rocker and Fabian, were from the West.
Yeah.
And so the West must obviously be dominant.
Ole Miss is legit. I mean, they've got a chance to be really, really special. Arkansas continues to be really, really good. I puke in my mouth, but LSU is going to be good again. They always are. And but there's I think the entire league. I mean, Mississippi State, they've got some veterans coming back, but I think that's what we're going to see with COVID. There was 25 or 26 junior colleges that folded.
Yeah.
They're not going to play. So now where do those guys go? Well, they're coming to big-time schools. And what are you going to do? You're going to take a guy that's throwing 93 to 95 miles an hour, insert him. I mean, heck, the Gators got one in Franco Alimon. So, I mean, this guy might throw 96, 97, which I can only do that in a video game. So it's like, it's nuts.
Are you sure you can do that in a video
maybe.
game?
Maybe that's the velocity of the balls coming off the bat when I was pitching 96, 97.
The exit velo.
Yes, the exit velo. So I think that's going to really change. Where we think Florida's going to be really, really good, there's going to be a lot of other teams that are really, really good too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. We never expected Mace and Leftwich both to come back, and then you had in Barco, who was really good as a freshman. The bullpen looks like it's stacked. I mean, guys are going to be fighting for those midweek jobs.
Yeah.
I need to play against JU, just to pitch against them. But one thing that you'll know better than anybody, and you'll know as the season goes along, are how are these guys dealing with it, dealing with the expectation, dealing with the publicity. And again, they're not going to get a ton of publicity,
right?
Because there's not going to be a ton of people interviewing them,
Sure.
because of what we're dealing with.
I just think the reason Mason Leftwich came back was to be first-round picks, to solidify that they are one of the best pitchers in the country for both of them, and I think that there's a purpose towards that. So, I mean, Tommy Mace has had the game face on from the moment they showed up in the fall. Jack Leftwich has got his changeup back, which was nasty a couple of years ago, and Leftwich is the inconsistent guy. Like, we've seen him almost throw a no-hitter before.
Right.
We've seen him go into a regional and tear it up and be really good, and we've also seen him get rocked all over the place and give up 10 runs in 2 innings. So if he can be consistent, that's the piece I think that Florida needs, because like you mentioned, I mean, Barco's going to be phenomenal. He's got lefty coming from this angle. It's really, really going to be really tough. Mace I think he's ready to be that Friday night guy. And then we saw, gosh, you got Christian Scott, you've got Nick Pogue, you got some of these guys that would be starters on other SEC teams and across the country, and they can't even sniff the starting rotation. So now if somebody struggles, well, you put those guys in there and you'll be okay.
Well, that's my point, is that if Leftwich, I'm not trying to,
sure.
Even if Mace, if anybody says is struggling or they maybe get a little sore arm, they don't want to be Wally pipped.
Yeah, that's right.
Because there's people waiting to take their place. There's no doubt about it.
Do you think everyone out there knows who Wally Pipp is?
No. Nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, there's some old people watching like you.
I wasn't around for Wally Pipp.
Oh, I thought you covered him that game.
No, I wasn't.
No, okay.
I did see the other day a picture of Lou Gehrig with his shirt off, and I never realized this guy was like built unbelievable.
Legs too.
Yeah.
Ginormous.
That's why they call him the Iron Horse.
There you go.
All right, one thing I want to do, we got to take a break, and then we'll come back with more Jeff Cardozo. We have to get to our Adams Rib Company Gator of the Week. I know you're a big fan of Adams Rib.
No doubt.
And we appreciate what they're doing for us on the we're doing a Gator of the Weekend and the Gator of the Week. So we're doing the Gator of the Weekend today. And I know you didn't watch it because you were off on holiday, but the gymnastics was unbelievable the other night. And Trinity Thomas, you can make an argument she had a 40.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people walk around the streets here with 40s, but this was damn close to being a 40. In other words, 10, 10, 10, 10. She did get 110 on the floor, and she was really, really close to getting them and everything else. So she is definitely our Adams Rib Company Gator of the Weekend. And she's unbelievable. My wife watched it. The gymnastics as well, and she just couldn't believe it. She goes, that she doesn't even look like she's trying. And then she does this one thing where she takes her leg and puts it all the way over here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I couldn't do that if you knocked me out. You couldn't get my leg over there.
But that's what is so special. Like we talk about baseball, football, basketball all the time, but I mean, you're watching future Olympians, some of the best athletes in the entire world. here at the University of Florida. So, yeah, I saw the highlights and really proud of her. We hosted something over the summer together. Great person as well. So not only is she a tremendous athlete, but
she was my first Zoom call.
Out there. How about that? Big time. You always remember that.
Well, yeah. I don't think she knew I was going to be calling. But.
I mean, you could have put Charlotte Eccles on there. I mean, she
went
6 for 6, tearing it up, and
down in South Florida. But that was the other thing is lacrosse blew out Louisville to start the season. What else do we have? Oh, the golf team shoots 15 under to win the Invitational. They're down going into it, but here's I use this in my back nine. I kind of get confused sometimes with the back nine or front nine. In my back nine that's up on WRUF.com, as bad as that football loss was to LSU, the rest of the sports are making up for it. Everybody else is beating LSU in everything. So good job. Way to hang in there. And nobody's thrown a shoe in any other sport so far.
Impressive.
That's good. We have to take our last break here. We'll do that. We'll come back, and we will give you 3 things and tell you about the news segment and finish up with Jeff Cardozo. We appreciate him being here. You're watching Another Duly Noted Podcast. You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate. Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
All right, welcome back to Another Duly Noted Podcast. Great to have Jeff Cardozo sitting in with me today. We should do a show all the time.
It'd be nice. It'd be fun.
Of course, you can hear it on WRUF weekdays, 4 to 6 p.m. Although I'm going to be missing you a little bit more lately.
Yeah, be 13 or 14 either absences or tardies, leaving early or
that's going to be
late.
Really weird for me on Friday is I'm literally going to walk out of this place and turn on the first game of the year for Florida radio after doing the podcast on Friday. I did want to get to 3 things. So we got to get to 3 things. Again, today it is being sponsored by the Gainesville Quarterback Club and by Titan MRI and by ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. So we got all these sponsors for that, but we're looking for one central sponsor. If you want to get involved in that, you know how to reach me. You know, the Beatles had a song that wasn't very popular. It's called "You Know My Name, Look Up My Number." You know my name, look up my number. Now, 317-3444. No big whoop. All right, number 1, and I didn't get to this Friday. I wish I had with Robbie because I heard this story. Arizona State has offered for the next recruiting class 357 scholarships.
Wow.
You can only give 25.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like, I know that what they're doing, they're saying, well, you guys all have offers. If you commit, we're still may not give it to you. But it doesn't feel right in terms of these kids who can say, go to school. I got an offer from Arizona State. I think I'm going to go there. And then a month later find out they have no interest in it.
Yeah,
But everybody apparently is doing. They're offering more and more scholarships.
Yeah, that's the big thing to do. Like, you're just trying to get people to commit early, so then you take them off the board, and it's strange, but it certainly changes lives.
It is, and in a way, it's not fair, but it is what it is. Number 2, we talked about this on Friday, Robbie and I. The Chris Doyle hiring by Urban Meyer, which just went right in the Urban Meyer playbook.
Mm-hmm.
Hire somebody, try to sneak him in, don't want anybody to know. Oh, yeah, well, he was accused of racial epithets at Iowa and bullying players. And finally, everybody got mad. And guess what happens? Chris Doyle resigns, which reminded me, all I could think about was the time that Brandon Spikes gouged Noshawn Moreno's eyes, tried to gouge his eyes out. and he suspended him for a half a game, and then he said that Brandon had come to him and said, "I don't think that's enough, Coach. I should sit out the whole game." Yeah, right. I believe that. The SEC said it should be a whole game.
Yeah.
Your athletic director said it should be a whole game. You know, it had nothing to do with Brandon Spikes, but that's the way it works. But what Robbie and I were talking about was, why even make this hire?
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys out there who are really good at this job. Whatever you want to call it, director of sports. It's on it. What is it? What was the title he had? It wasn't strength coach. It was director of sports fitness or whatever. There's a lot of guys really good. Why hire the one guy that's going to cause a problem?
Maybe, like you said, just try to sneak them in, play it under the radar, and they have a relationship some way, somehow, and you're trying to help a guy out. And
Well, then the most amazing thing is, he goes, yeah, I knew him when I was at Utah. He was the number one strength coach there, and we knew each other. Turns out they never were there at the same time.
jeez.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
This is the NFL. You're going to get caught in all the lies here.
Yep.
Okay? So.
Not shocking.
No, not shocking at all. And finally, on three things. Number 3, Daytona 500 was yesterday. You know, I had a plan for the Leonardo's quick picks. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say one of the quick picks is going to be yes or no. The 500 will end on Sunday, right? And I went, everybody's going to say yes, so I'm not going to put it in there. Guess what? It ended at 15 minutes after Sunday. So it didn't end until Monday. I cannot imagine the people that were lucky enough to get tickets, because not many people were, and then having to go and then get a 6-hour lightning and rain delay, and then somebody wins who they've never heard of.
Yeah, after about 300 races.
Yeah.
So pretty cool.
I had to write his name down. Michael McDowell.
Yeah.
Wasn't he with the Doobie Brothers?
He was, yeah. That's Roger McDowell, Blackjack McDowell, the old White Sox pitcher's brother, maybe.
No, I don't think it is.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so that was it was interesting, but you know, I don't know. Have you ever been to Daytona 500?
A few times. My dad was there yesterday.
Was he?
Yeah.
How long did he sit there?
The whole time.
No, he did.
He was working, so.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a long day.
They showed a picture of press row, and it was like nobody in it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the world we live in now. All right, so. Let's go back to baseball, and then I want to ask you a couple of quick football and basketball questions. We only have about 7 minutes left here in the show, but in terms of baseball, if you had to look at the biggest competition in the East, would it definitely be Vanderbilt? Kumar Rocker, obviously back for another year.
Yeah, you got Kumar Rocker, who may not lose a game. Like, I don't see how you're going to get a hit off that guy, which is going to be pretty incredible.
The Gators have this lineup with no holes.
I know.
So how can they knock him around?
Pitching's better than hitting, no matter what. Pitchers are by far way better athletes than hitters. I mean, it's obvious, so that's what's going to happen. No, if that's why you can never really say you get momentum in baseball, in my opinion, because the momentum is always the next day's starting pitcher.
Right.
I mean, you know that from Maddox. The guy could just go and throw a 75-pitch complete game, and all of a sudden you've lost all the momentum that you got. So Vandy's got a couple of studs. They've actually got Al Leiter's kid, Jack Leiter, is in that rotation as well, another guy that should be a first-round pick. So their pitching's going to be good. They lost some hitters, though, so they may not be able to score a ton. You just have to hope that you have a plan for Kumar and battle. And I mean, this is a guy that ththrew like a no-hitter in a regional.
I know.
So he's pretty special. And
well,
they'll be good.
And I've seen some great ones come through here. Is Vandy here or on the road?
It's here this year.
Yeah. Obviously, Andrew Miller was great when he pitched here. I was trying to think of the other guy who pitched here that was Carlos Rodon.
Yeah. NC State.
Yeah, I mean,
Gators got to him.
They did.
That was great.
I mean, that's the thing.
Jeff Samardzija even pitched here.
He did.
In a regional from Notre Dame.
He did pitch here.
Been some fun ones over the years.
In fact, I wrote a column about him because Maneri was the coach then, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was.
See, I know baseball. He's not the only guy that knows baseball, but he is the only guy who knows the intricacies of this baseball team. And will that be an issue at all with guys who aren't getting to play? Because let's say they start out and they go 16-0 again.
Yeah.
And guys aren't, you're not getting to pitch, you're not getting to hit, and guys are just like, well, I don't know that I want to put the work in. That's something Sully's going to have to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that's why the lineup shuffling and changing things up is really going to try to keep people engaged, because if you get an opportunity and you don't live up to that opportunity, well, then you can't complain. Then you say, okay, well, I didn't earn it, but now if I get another chance, I'm going to be ready, so they're going to work hard. So to me, that's like they're going to be really good, but he's going to be able to have to manage that entire roster. And I think we've seen that through other sports, teams that are really good, and you have to have a head coach that understands how to play guys, how to keep guys happy, how to keep them engaged in the game and throughout different things. And I think that's going to be Sully's biggest really strength or weakness this year, and how he handles those guys.
And I think having an experienced coach or manager,
sure,
he's still wearing a uniform, so I call him a manager.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. Let me ask you this: if LSU's playing Miami in a best-of-3 series, who are you rooting for?
I think you hope for like 3 Daytona type rain delays where they're just like stuck at the field for 3 long days, and then maybe one wins on a wild pitch in the bottom of the 19th inning, 1-0 or something.
So they're the top 2 for you.
Yeah,
negative
by far,
rooting.
negative rooting.
FSU's not even in the picture.
I'm okay with FSU.
Well, you've won like 18 in a row before that.
It's kind of the same with Sully in Miami too.
Yeah.
I mean, went down to Coral Gables last year. Those fans were so upset, and I just left with big old smiles on my face.
Happy.
So, but it'll be a fun weekend at the new ballpark, especially. And I know all the fans can't get out there and really experience it. But if you do get that opportunity, again, try to win those tickets on Meldon and Friends. Go to their Facebook page for Saturday and Sunday. But it's for you. It's for the fans. The players will do their thing. They'll play on any field, any surface, whatever. But you have shade now. You have chair backs. You have the ability to walk around the entire stadium. You can grab a beer, which I know is near and dear to your heart. So a lot of really cool things about that ballpark, and it should be a whole lot of fun in there this year.
Do you think, and again, I'm speaking as somebody who just got his second shot Saturday, so I'm pretty happy. But do you think we could get to a point where they are able to increase the capacity late in the year, like May, warmer weather, more people getting vaccinated?
I would hope so. I mean, I think, I'm not a scientist, although I did say a Holiday Inn Express a couple weeks ago. So,
No, you didn't.
Well, that's what the commercial said.
I know, but you
Try
didn't.
to act smart if you do that. But I think so, and I think the UF has a really good plan for the berms. I know they're drawing out squares in there to sit you in your little pods and make sure you spread out. So don't wear the Speedo out there, though. People don't want to see that in your suntanning.
They don't.
Out
They
on the
never
Adirondacks.
Nobody wants to see it, including my
No,
wife.
they don't.
All right, I was going to talk about a new segment I was going to start, so let me get this in real quick. Starting in March, we're going to start the Dooley football fix. Every Monday and Friday, we'll look around the SEC, see what's going on, because by then we'll be starting with some spring football starting. So we'll do that for the months of March and April. If you want to get involved in that, it is a sponsor as well. Okay, I think if we covered anything, anything else you want to say? I was going to ask you a football question, but we're running late.
Gators got a kicker today. Commit.
They did?
2021 kicker.
What's his name?
5-star, so add that 5-star to
What's his name?
He's a kicker. But he is the number 2 ranked kicker in the country.
Really?
So he's good.
See, all that happened while I was preparing for the show.
That's right.
And so, literally, how many 5-stars do they have now?
It'll be 7.
Yeah. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
All right, that's going to do it for another Duly Noted podcast. Appreciate our guests so much. Jerry Palm joining us earlier, as well as Chris Dortch from Blue Ribbon Magazine. Of course, this guy, one of my best friends in the world. Appreciate him coming in as well. Until Friday, we'll be back again. We'll have a lot to talk about, including baseball. But by then, we'll have a basketball game to talk about.
Finally.
Will have been played. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Until next time, I am Pat Dooley. So long from the Sunshine State.